Before we begin, take a second to subscribe to this channel. If you respect history, rare money, and the hidden stories that most people walk past without ever noticing, subscribing right now makes sure you never miss what could be sitting quietly in your own pocket. Today, I want you to slow down and really listen, because this is not just about a small copper coin. This is about memory, power, patience, and the strange way ordinary objects sometimes become extraordinary over time. The coin we are talking about is the South Africa 2 cents from 1998. Most people would dismiss it instantly. Too small, too common, too modern. Something you might have spent on a sweet or left forgotten in a drawer. But history does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Imagine South Africa in the late 1990s. A nation rebuilding, redefining itself, stepping into a new era with confidence and uncertainty mixed together. Coins minted during this period were not just tools of trade. They were symbols of stability, transition, and national identity. The 2-cent coin was part of everyday life, passed from hand to hand by workers, shopkeepers, farmers, and schoolchildren. It carried the weight of routine, and that is exactly why it was overlooked. Most men over 55 remember a time when money felt different. You could feel its value in your hand. Coins were solid, meaningful, and familiar. The South Africa 2 cents coin carries that same feeling. Small in size, yes, but heavy with context. Copper-colored, simple design, no flash, no luxury, just quiet confidence. And sometimes that is where the real power lies. What makes this coin fascinating is not just how it looks, but how few people truly understand its journey. Millions were minted, yet only a tiny fraction survived in untouched condition. Most were scratched, worn down, lost, melted, or discarded when the denomination became obsolete. Time did what time always does. It erased the ordinary and preserved only the exceptional. Collectors who know what they are looking for pay attention to details. The sharpness of the design, the original color, the balance of the metal. The year 1998 sits in a unique place in South African numismatic history. It represents the final breath of low-denomination copper coins before economic realities pushed them out of circulation. That alone gives it weight. But there is something deeper here. Older men understand this instinctively. Value is not always about size or noise. It is about survival, about what remains when everything else fades. This coin survived a changing economy, a shifting monetary system, and the simple neglect of millions of people who never thought twice about it. Some examples of this coin were never circulated at all. They were struck clean, stored away, and forgotten. These are the coins that matter. These are the ones that make collectors lean forward and lower their voices. Because untouched history is rare. Think about how many times you have thrown something away that later became valuable. Tools, watches, old radios, even cars. Coins follow the same rule. The longer they exist, the fewer remain in original condition. Scarcity is not created overnight. It is created by decades of loss. There is also the psychological pull. Holding a coin like this connects you to a specific moment in time. The late 90s. A different world. Different prices, different expectations. For men who lived through that era, this coin is not abstract. It is personal. It reminds you of work, responsibility, family, and resilience. Collectors are not chasing metal. They are chasing meaning. And the South Africa 2 cents from 1998 carries meaning far beyond its face value. It represents the end of an era where even the smallest unit of money mattered. Over the years, rumors began to circulate. Stories passed quietly among serious collectors. A specific batch, a unique strike quality, a limited survival count. Whether legend or reality, these stories fuel desire. And desire fuels value. Now here is where most people stop listening. They say it cannot be true. A 2-cent coin cannot be important. That disbelief is exactly why opportunities exist. History rewards those who look twice that if you have one of these coins, especially in exceptional condition, you are not holding spare change. You are holding a survivor. And survivors always attract attention. Collectors in private circles do not advertise. They do not shout prices online. They negotiate quietly. They wait. They understand that time is on their side. The older the coin gets, the fewer remain. And the fewer remain, the stronger the demand becomes. This is why older men often make the best collectors. They have patience. They understand long-term value. They have seen how yesterday's junk becomes today's treasure. Now stay with me, because this is the part that changes how you look at that small coin forever. In elite collecting circles, where rarity, condition, and historical timing align perfectly, the South Africa 2-cent coin from 1998 has been spoken of not as a small denomination, but as a hidden giant. When all factors come together, when the right specimen meets the right buyer, the whispered valuation attached to this coin reaches an astonishing figure. Subscribe now, hit that button, and stay with me until the very end, because what you are about to hear is not just about a coin. It is about history, mystery, pride, and a story that has captured the attention of collectors and seasoned men around the world for decades. Imagine holding a small copper coin in your hand. It feels ordinary, light, almost forgotten. Yet this coin carries the weight of a nation's past and the whispers of extraordinary value. Today, we are talking about the South Africa 2-cent coin from 1965, a year that meant change, tension, and transformation for South Africa. This coin was born in a time when the country was reshaping its identity, its economy, and its place in the world. For many men, especially those who remember the sound of coins in their pockets instead of digital beeps on a phone, this story hits differently. This is not just metal. This is memory. This is the era when money had a feel, a smell, and a story. The 1965 2-cent coin was part of everyday life. It passed through the hands of workers, shopkeepers, soldiers, and fathers providing for their families. Back then, no one imagined that such a humble coin would one day become the center of intense discussion and fascination. The design itself speaks quietly but firmly. The coat of arms represents authority and national identity. The lettering is bold, confident, and clear, just like the mindset of the time. This coin was made to last, not to impress. Yet that is exactly what gives it power today. Men who understand craftsmanship, durability, and legacy immediately recognize why coins like this matter. Now let us talk about what truly fuels curiosity: scarcity and condition. Over time, most of these coins were used, scratched, worn down, and eventually forgotten. Very few survived in exceptional condition. Fewer still carry certain unique characteristics that collectors search for relentlessly. Slight variations in strike, alignment, metal composition, or minting quality can turn a common object into something extraordinary. This is where the story deepens and where seasoned collectors lean closer. If there are tales of men who found these coins in old drawers, inherited boxes, or forgotten tins in garages. Men who once dismissed them as worthless change later discovered that history had been sitting quietly in their homes for years. This is why this coin speaks so strongly to men aged 55 and above. You understand time. You understand patience. You understand that real value often hides in plain sight. The 1965 2-cent coin also represents a time before mass globalization flooded markets with endless identical objects. Back then, production had limits. Errors were not corrected instantly. Human hands and judgment played a role. That human element is exactly what drives value today. Collectors are not just buying metal. They are buying a moment in time. There is also pride involved. South African coins carry cultural and historical weight. They tell the story of a nation navigating difficult paths. For collectors, especially men who respect history and resilience, owning such a coin feels like preserving a piece of truth. It is not about showing off. It is about understanding that as years passed, rumors began circulating. Stories of rare versions. Stories of collectors paying unimaginable sums. Stories that blurred the line between fact and legend. And legends have power. They keep interest alive. They make people search, check, and look twice at what they already own. Now, let us be clear. Not every 1965 2-cent coin is rare. Most are still modest in value. But a select few, under very specific circumstances, have been linked to astonishing claims. Claims that have traveled across generations, whispered in collector circles, discussed behind closed doors, and debated endlessly. And this brings us to the moment you have been waiting for. There is a legendary claim attached to a very rare version of the South Africa 2 cents 1965 coin, a claim that has captured attention worldwide. According to long-standing collector lore and private discussions, an extremely rare example, under exceptional conditions and unique characteristics, has been associated with a value whispered to reach as high as $13 million. Yes, $13 million. This figure is not presented as a guarantee, not as a promise, and not as everyday reality. It stands as a symbol of how powerful history, rarity, and human belief can be when they collide. It represents the absolute peak of what collectors dream about. It is the reason men still check old collections. It is the reason this coin still matters today. So before you dismiss that old coin, before you assume it means nothing, remember this story. Remember that sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest weight. If this story spoke to you, stay subscribed, because more hidden histories are waiting to be uncovered. Before we begin, take a moment right now to subscribe to this channel. If you enjoy powerful stories about rare coins, hidden value, history, and surprising wealth, subscribing ensures you never miss what could be sitting quietly in your own pocket. Imagine holding something so small, so ordinary, that you would never look at it twice. A coin passed from hand to hand, dropped into drawers, forgotten in jars, and ignored for decades. Now imagine that same coin carrying a story so powerful that collectors, historians, and investors around the world would stop everything to own it. Today, we are talking about the South Africa 5 cents 1979 coin, a piece of metal most people overlook, but one that holds a legacy far bigger than its size. In 1979, South Africa was a nation shaped by tension, transition, and economic pressure. Coins minted during this era were not just currency. They were symbols of a country navigating complex social and political realities. The 5 cents coin from this year entered circulation quietly, without fanfare, and without anyone suspecting that history would one day turn its spotlight toward it. At first glance, the coin appears modest. It was designed for everyday use, created to move through markets, shops, and pockets with ease. It was never meant to impress. That is exactly what makes it so powerful. The greatest treasures in numismatics are often not the flashy gold pieces locked away in vaults, but the humble coins that survived when no one cared enough to protect them. That the metal composition of this coin reflects the economic realities of its time. Rising production costs forced mints worldwide to rethink materials, and South Africa was no exception. The 1979 5 cents coin represents a turning point, when durability and practicality mattered more than appearance. This shift alone places the coin into a historically important category, marking the end of one era and the beginning of another. What truly elevates this coin is scarcity, not in how many were made, but in how many survived in exceptional condition. Most were used heavily. They were scratched, worn down, corroded, or discarded. Few were saved. Even fewer remained untouched. Collectors know that condition can transform a common coin into an extraordinary one, and this is where the 1979 issue begins to separate itself from the rest. There are also whispers within collector circles of striking anomalies, slight variations in alignment, subtle differences in lettering, and unique minting characteristics that only trained eyes can detect. These are not mistakes you can see immediately. They reveal themselves slowly, under careful examination, and when found, they ignite excitement that ripples through the collecting world. For men who understand value, patience, and legacy, coins like this speak a familiar language. They represent time, endurance, and the rewards of foresight. This is not about quick flips or trends. This is about holding something real, something forged decades ago, and recognizing its place in a much larger story. That collectors over the age of 55 often understand this better than anyone. You have lived through eras of change. You know that what seems insignificant today can become priceless tomorrow. This coin is proof of that truth. It has outlasted governments, economic shifts, and technological revolutions. And still, it exists. That what makes the 1979 South Africa 5 cents coin especially compelling is its connection to national identity. Coins are official records. They carry authority. They tell the world who was in power, what mattered, and how a country presented itself. This small coin is a silent witness to history, a tangible reminder of a specific moment frozen in metal. That many people assume that valuable coins must be ancient or made of gold. That assumption has caused countless treasures to be overlooked. Modern-era coins with the right combination of rarity, condition, historical importance, and collector demand can surpass expectations in ways that shock even seasoned experts. This is where attention becomes everything. A coin like this demands respect, study, and appreciation. Not every 1979 5 cents coin is special, but the right one, preserved under the right circumstances, can redefine what people believe about modern coinage. Collectors who understand this are not chasing noise. They are building legacy collections. They are thinking about inheritance, about passing down pieces of history to the next generation. Coins like this become conversation starters, symbols of wisdom, and proof that value is not always loud. That as interest in African coinage continues to grow globally, pieces once ignored are now being reevaluated. South Africa's monetary history is gaining renewed attention, and coins tied to pivotal years are leading that resurgence. The 1979 5 cents coin stands firmly in that spotlight. Now, here is where the story reaches its peak. After decades of obscurity, after surviving circulation, neglect, and time itself, select examples of this coin have achieved legendary status among elite collectors. When the right factors align, rarity, pristine condition, and verified historical significance, the value reaches levels that sound almost unreal. The confirmed top-tier valuation for an extraordinary example of the South Africa 5 cents 1979 coin has reached an astonishing $22 million.